We would love to know where you're joining us from. So if you could post your name and where you're from, the name of your organization and the place you're in the chat strip, that would be great. आप कहाँ से हैं, आपका नाम अगर आप वो चैट स्ट्रिप में डाल देंगे तो हमें आइडिया लग जाएगा कि कहाँ कहाँ से हमें पार्टिसिपेंट्स ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं. That would be great. The responses have started coming in. Thank you so much. A lot of school teachers here in the group. And parents as well. Good to see that parents are joining us. And I hope you find the session knowledgeable and you get something new out of this. As always, we're going to wait for 1 or 2 more minutes until everybody joins in, and then we can start. As you can see, our expert speaker is sitting right next to me here. Vibha is here. So we won't take much time, just a couple of more minutes. Participants are joining us from different parts of the country. So we have people from MP, from Hyderabad, yes, Ghaziabad. So we'll have a lot of discussion on different kinds of food from across the country. That's a very good thing. Hopefully. So towards the end of this webinar, we'd also like to hear from you about any local, indigenous, traditional ingredients that you might be using. Good to keep some of the responses in your memory. Okay, I think we have a decent number. We can start. Since there are quite a few teachers here in this group, I would like to wish all of you and all the parents as well a very happy Teachers' Day in advance. It's tomorrow, I understand, but people from GSP, teachers and students from GSP, they understand the high regard that we have as a team for teachers. I mean, it was at one level in school, but now it has grown to another level, and we've really come to respect teachers like you who go the extra mile, take the extra effort to get more involved with environment education. So a very happy Teachers' Day to you and more power to you. Now coming to today's topic, it is something that's close to all of our hearts, I'm sure. And many of us here would even call it an emotion. It has made us happy at many points in time. It's on food. But the webinar today is not going to perceive food as one general term. We are going to unpack the nuances attached with it. And it's going to answer one of the most pertinent questions that we have today. What are we supposed to eat in a climate-risk world? What does it mean to eat sustainable food? So that is the question that we'll be targeting today. Because it's not just about food anymore. It's about survival, it's about innovation, and it's about the choices that will shape the future of our planet. हम जब खाने की बात करते हैं तो हाँ, हम सबको खाने से खुशी होती है, हम सबकी अपनी फेवरेट डिशेस हैं जिनका नाम हमारी जुबान पे रहता है, हमारी रेसिपीज हैं कुछ बहुत फेमस जो हमें पसंद हैं. बट आज हम खाने की बात क्लाइमेट चेंज की नजर से करेंगे. सो हम देखेंगे कि क्या मतलब होता है असल में सही सस्टेनेबल खाना एक क्लाइमेट चेंज रिडन दुनिया में. उसका क्या मतलब होता है और क्या चॉइसेस हैं जो हमें एज कंज्यूमर्स उस दुनिया में लेनी है हमारे फूड के बारे, खाने के बारे में. whether we side with food that's mass produced in factories or food that is grown by farmers with small pieces of land, food that's grown for survival, it's a choice that must be made at this point. हमारा खाना जो हम खा रहे हैं, हमारी जो थाली तक आ रहा है, वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? क्या वो फैक्ट्रीज में मास प्रोड्यूस होके आ रहा है, या वो कोई छोटा सा फार्मर जिनके पास छोटी सी जमीन है, वो अपने सर्वाइवल के लिए उगा रहे हैं, वहां से आ रहा है? ये बहुत ही बड़ी चॉइस है जिसके सिग्निफिकेंट इम्पैक्ट्स हो सकते हैं हमारे प्लैनेट के फ्यूचर पे. दैट इज व्हाट वी विल टॉक अबाउट टुडे. So we are going to talk about what is on our plate, and we are going to rethink the entire food system from farm to fork. After we do that with our expert speaker Vibha Varshney here today, we are also going to do something very new. At the end of this webinar, we will launch the first ever recipe contest by Green Schools program. As you know, I actually forgot to tell my name. It's Tushita, but you can read it here on Zoom. So I am part of Green Schools program. We're a team that works with schools and teachers, principals, students. So we run different types of contests, but this is the first time for us that we're launching a recipe contest. And not just teachers, it's open to everybody. If you're interested in this area, you can participate. It's about sharing and learning recipes that honor traditional local ingredients. So I will tell you how to participate in the contest towards the end. आज की जो हमारी वेबिनार है, इसके एंड में हम एक बहुत नई चीज करेंगे. ग्रीन स्कूल्स प्रोग्राम पहली बार एक रेसिपी कॉन्टेस्ट लॉन्च कर रहा है, जिसमें हम आप सबसे रेसिपीज मांगेंगे ट्रेडिशनल लोकल इंग्रेडिएंट्स को यूज करते हुए. और विभा जो हमारी जज होंगी उस कॉन्टेस्ट की, वो टॉप रेसिपीज निकालेंगी और हम उन्हें अवार्ड्स भेजेंगे. So this is something that's in the store today. Please do stay tuned towards the end of the session. We will introduce this contest in detail. And now I think we can start with the session. So I will quickly introduce the speaker that I have here today. Vibha is a journalist and she's a writer with over 2 decades of experience. She writes on health, food, and biodiversity, and has also conceptualized CSE's first food series. We will also talk more about this in the presentation. It connects the dots between biodiversity, nutrition, health, and livelihood. Vibha holds a PhD in botany and loves spending time around plants. So Vibha, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Tushita. It's a pleasure to be here and it's a pleasure to be talking to all of you. So if we can start the presentation. So we know that food is a very important part of our social lives. That's what we talk about. Like कहीं बाहर जा रहे हो तो हम कहते हैं चलो बाहर का कुछ खा के लेके आते हैं. जो भी होता है हमारे लाइफ में, we talk about food in some way. It is part of our religious festivals. अभी हमारी जन्माष्टमी गई तो हमने उसमें भी कोई स्पेशल खाना बनाया. All these religious things and everything we do celebrate with food. So food is a very important part of our life. But we also know that if we eat bad food, there are lots of chances that we are going to fall sick. So how do we know what to eat and what is good for our health? And what we also find that what is good for our health is generally good for the environment also. So that's what we have understood. Can I have the next slide? So before we start, we have to understand what is the food system. So we find out that the food system is a very convoluted system. It has, for example, when it comes to climate change, we know that food systems are responsible for as much as a quarter of the greenhouse gas that are emitted. So इससे काफी पर्यावरण को भी नुकसान होता है, हमें साफ साफ दिखाई देता है. क्लाइमेट चेंज का एक बड़ा रीजन हो सकता है इस तरह. अब हमने ये भी देखा है that climate change is reducing food's nutritive value. तो क्या होता है, if the environment has a lot of carbon dioxide, the plant cannot produce the food the way it should, the way it is programmed to do, and the nutritive value of such food goes down. For example, it has been seen that in case of pulses, because the protein content of pulses has gone down in the last few decades, which is very, very sad because we eat pulses for the protein value itself. So that is a very sad thing. Also, in case of other cereals, like even in case of millets, we see that the carbohydrate content of the millets grown now is far inferior to what was grown earlier. So, it's a system which is kind of trying to make up. First, we are trying to regenerate greenhouse gases through agriculture, but then that is also making our food bad. So, there's also a problem that the food system is leading to biodiversity loss. Uh, there are estimates which say that food production causes as much as 70% of biodiversity loss on the land and 50% in fresh water. ये पिछले 50 साल के करीब में हुआ है, तो धीरे धीरे ये चीज और खराब होती जा रही है. ऐसा ही सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है, we have also seen that climate change is also leading to biodiversity loss. जिस चीज के ऊपर हम एक बार सोच रहे थे कि हम इसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेंगे, वो भी हम होते जा रहे हैं. So because of things like wildfire, droughts, extreme rains, we are losing out on the biodiversity around us. So the thing is that we have to take a balance. It's time to balance ourselves. हम किस तरह से किस डायरेक्शन में जाए, हमको स्टेप्स अभी के अभी लेने पड़ेंगे. So we have to take the next steps now. But what are these next steps? So what we find is, what we can suggest is we have to eat mindfully. What is mindful eating? So we have to use climate resilient crops. Obviously, because as the temperature rises, as there are extreme weather events, we have to ensure that we have something on the plate that is possible only when we are growing climate resilient crops. We have to also ensure that we increase the biodiversity on our plate. These have to be hardy foods. Again, these have to be hardy foods are climate resilient. So these are weeds, tree bones, seeds, fruits, seeds which can be stored for a very long time, plants with short life cycles. These can help us survive. Other than that, we have to ensure that we consume or include on our plate some ingredients which are growing outside of the agricultural lands. These would include things like plants that grow in wetlands or in ponds or in forests or even on degraded lands. So it's not that degraded lands don't have any kind of food. If you see, people in Rajasthan have a lot of variety of foods which they eat because they know and understand the biodiversity around them, and they can actually figure out that at this time we will have something like this to consume. So they are mindful of what they are eating at the time and at what time it's going to be available. So mindful eating also means that we have to ensure that those foods which are nutritious and which are good for the environment and for which are good for health are included on our plate.
This is interesting, Vibha. So I'm sure you'll come to it and you will give us a lot of examples towards the end of the presentation. But if you could give us a couple of examples of these kind of food items here, like something that grows in wetlands or degraded lands.
The best example of what grows in wetland is makhana. So makhana is grows in ponds and everything, in water bodies and wetlands, and it is so popular nowadays. It has been revived so over the last 20 years since we wrote the first book that we are going to talk about in some time. So since then it has been revived. It took 20 years, but yes, the plant is back to the seed is back to our table. And in case of forests, we have mahua. Mahua flowers are generally used to prepare a liquor, but then it can also be used consumed. It has a slight sweet taste, and people use it to make sweets. So, but who knows that nowadays people don't use it for that purpose, and the whole idea is कि महुआ है तो इसका लिकर बनेगा. ऐसा नहीं, उसको खाया भी जाता था, पहले से भी खाया जाता है, अब भी वापस रिवाइवल उसका हो रहा है. उसी तरह से अगर डिग्रेडेड लैंड्स के बारे में सोचे तो हम वहाँ पे केर सांगरी की सब्जी बहुत पॉपुलर है, पर सांगरी इज ऑल्सो very easily harvested from the tree. So it's a tree borne food which survives. थोड़ा बहुत अगर climate change भी हो जाए तो भी वो survive करता है tree, and these are long-lived trees which have provided food for the people in deserts for a very long time. So these are the examples. So we can move to the next slide. So as we were saying, these plants and these foods need protection. So because we're talking about biodiversity, so let us first understand what is biodiversity. So it's the availability between among living organisms. हमको नहीं पता कि हमारे पास कितने पौधे हैं, कितने एनिमल्स हैं, कितना क्या है, एक अच्छा एस्टिमेट नहीं है, बट जनरली एक एस्टिमेट जो कहा गया है दैट इज कि देयर आर अराउंड 8.1 बिलियन स्पीसीज ऑफ प्लांट्स एंड एनिमल्स ऑन अर्थ. बट उसको बचाने की बहुत जरूरत है क्योंकि वी ऑलरेडी आल्सो नो दैट 1 मिलियन ऑफ दीज स्पीसीज आर लाइकली टू बी लॉस्ट बाय 2030. सो अगर ये खत्म हो गया तो वी लूज द इंग्रेडिएंट्स जिनके ऊपर हम डिपेंड कर रहे हैं, तो वी लूज तो द वेरी इंग्रेडिएंट्स दैट कैन हेल्प अस सर्वाइव द क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड एनी अदर catastrophe that happens. So it's very important that biodiversity is protected. So recently in 2019, FAO carried out published a study which showed that even though there are around 6,000 plant species which are cultivated across the world in some way or other, but people depend on just 9 of them. So like there's a vast difference between what is there and what is being consumed. So imagine the scenario in which these 9 kind of are not available for any long. So what are we going to eat? So this is a stark difference on what is available and what we are eating. And similarly, in case of livestock, we just eat a few handful of livestock breeds. We use the meat or milk or egg, and as many as 25% of the breeds which we could have depended on at the risk of extinction. Similarly, in case of fish, half of the fish stocks are at risk of extinction. And the report also says that quarter of the wild food species are also decreasing. So, as the example that I gave of makhana, it could be revived because people wanted to eat it. So that's what we say, that once we get the biodiversity on our plate, once we get the biodiversity on the plate, we would be able to protect it much better. So next slide. Again, we are very fortunate. We live in India, and because of that, we are a mega biodiverse country. We have as many as 11% of the world's plant species, and we have a rich tradition of using biodiversity as food. As we mentioned earlier, we consume them during our festivals. They are part of our vows and everything, which we give it, go to temples with. They're part of our religious ceremonies also. And we also use a lot of food as medicine. The Indian systems of medicine depend on local biodiversity a lot, and it prescribes that you can eat many of these as part of your food. So we have a rich kind of palette to use and choose from. We have a lot of survival foods also because we have used them for so long, and India has a very varied climatic conditions. We have faced a lot of issues. We have faced vagaries of weather also, and so we have some kind of foods which are always available in whatever condition we are faced with. So another example of this is that we have 300 wild ancestors of cultivated plants within our country. So we have something that we can use as a base for future use. So what we say is that we have the knowledge to survive any kind of problem that we are faced with. हम जो भी क्लाइमेट रिस्क वर्ल्ड में हमको जो भी कंडीशन मिलेगी, जो भी सिचुएशन मिलेगी, हमारे पास वो नॉलेज पूरी है कि हम उसको किस तरह से उस कंडीशन में भी अपना पसंद का खाना या अपनी हेल्थ के लिए अच्छा खाना, न्यूट्रिटिव खाना वहां से हम निकाल सकेंगे। तो ये नॉलेज जो है वो हमें आगे पास ऑन करनी है। तो उसी लिए सेंटर फॉर साइंस एंड एनवायरनमेंट ने एक सीरीज निकाली थी। ये हमने काम शुरू किया था समथिंग 2000 के करीब में, साल 2000 में। तो हमारे उस टाइम पे हम क्या करते थे, डाउन टू अर्थ में जो हमारी एक मैगजीन है, उसमें रिपोर्टर्स जब कहीं जाते थे वो लोग स्टोरीज लेके आते थे कि ये सर्वाइवल फूड इस जगह का है, ये सर्वाइवल फूड वहां पे है। मैं वहां गया तो मैंने देखा कि लोग इस तरह से खाना खा रहे हैं, ये खाना खा रहे हैं, हमने तो कभी खाया नहीं, मैंने खा के देखा। तो ये सारी कहानियां हम डाउन टू अर्थ में लेते थे। फिर हमने इन सब को यूज करके कॉन्सेप्ट बना के एक किताब निकाली जो फर्स्ट फूड टेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया बायोडाइवर्सिटी के थी। उसी तरीके से इस चीज में हमने तो एक वाइड एक्सपेंस देखा कि क्या क्या अवेलेबल है। बट देन वी कंटिन्यूड विद दिस वर्क एंड वी मूव्ड ऑन टू द सेकंड edition of the book, in which we covered the culture of taste, that is, what do people eat, uh, and why do they eat it? Like, how do they know which part to eat? Like, there are communities which consume flowers of kachnar. Not everyone knows that. They are the same communities when when the new leaves are there, they consume the young leaves of kachnar. So this knowledge was very important, and in the second book we tried to bring this out. In the third book, we looked at like you can see the covers also now. Thank you. So in the third book, we tried to figure out कि किस तरीके से लोग इस तरह का खाना उसको उसको एक बिजनेस की तरह यूज करते हैं, उनका एक लाइवलीहुड ऑप्शन की तरह है कि किस तरह से वो उससे कमा सकते हैं। तो these had examples of again what I talked about, case of mahua, which is not only consumed as local liquor, but now companies are making a wine out of it, a high-end wine out of it. So we looked at the scope of livelihood options that these local ingredients can provide. The fourth book, which just recently came out, talks specifically about survival food and what can be consumed in a climate risk world. The food for the future, or the future of taste. So these are the four books that we have come out till now, and each of them uh, talks about a different concept per se. So these books have covered as many as 100 ingredients, and we have provided 400 around 400 recipes of how to use these ingredients, because that is the knowledge. Like if अगर मैं आपको कह दूं कि आप ये महुआ का फूल ले लीजिए, not everyone is going to be able to know what it can be used to prepare or how it has to be processed. So this knowledge we are trying to pass on in form of recipes, and these recipe books have something like 400 recipes overall now. Next slide. As we talked earlier, there are already a lot of examples that these hardy and uh, good foods can be revived. A very good example of this is millets, which the government itself tried to revive. And these are water-prudent crops. They don't need much water to grow. They can grow on bad marginal soils also. So these have been revived now. I'm sure everyone has consumed millets over the last 2 years since the government promoted them, and they are easily available also. Earlier, people usually just ate 3 or 4 kind of millets, but now there are small minor millets also which have been promoted, so which is a very good thing. I talked about makhana. Makhana, as I said, grows in ponds and wetlands, which are very important for the environment, but because they grow specifically in Bihar, but because of developmental projects and agriculture and encroachment, these ponds were getting lost. So because there is a business potential there, there are companies and small scale farmers who kind of protected the ponds and water bodies on their land around them, and they ensured that makhana is available and they could profit from them. Similarly, mahua trees, as I said, the flowers are consumed. Uh, they have come back. There are high-end wines that are being prepared using them. There are also more awareness about how it can be used uh, because it's easily available now. Similarly, jackfruit is a big business in Kerala. Um, it is used to even prepare flour for food, which can be stored for long. It's used in ice creams. It's used in to prepare milkshakes and everything. So, it has been revived over the last 15-20 years. The bale fruit earlier used to just not be available, but if you go out in the streets in really warm summers and everything, you will find this bale being sold as juice by street vendors. It's a very common thing, at least in Delhi now. So again, I would say it's been revived. So similarly, cholai, it's a green also, and also the seed is also used. The seed was again not being used, but now it's being sold as a superfood. And the list just goes on, it goes on and on. I think I should have talked about the green kitchen also. I have not given the link here. So we have started, CSC has started a green kitchen. It's a show which promotes all these ingredients which are very good for our health and which like have been revived and how they are consumed in uh, now. So if you go to our website, you would be able to find the Green Kitchen and the series that is coming out in that.
Right. So the season one of Green Kitchen was a massive success that Vibha had hosted. So now she's coming up with a second season, and we will share the link with all of our participants.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's a good thing. So good food is in limelight. It's not just us who's talking about, and lots of people are talking about them. Organic food has become a fad. The government has started the geographical indicator system under which they are providing certificates to ingredients from different parts of the country as specific to them. For example, we have rice from different varieties or pulse varieties from the specific areas like कोल्हापुर की अरहर की दाल या फिर गोविंद भोग चावल जो सिर्फ वेस्ट बंगाल में मिलता है उस तरीके से काफी सारा सर्टिफिकेट दिए जाते हैं फूड फेस्टिवल्स और फेयर्स जो हैं दे हैव बिकम वेरी वेरी पॉपुलर like in Delhi at least 2 or 3 festivals happen every year and they are very popular. Restaurants and chefs have started promoting these ingredients. So again, it's a very good thing. During the COVID, when we was working from home, so influencers kind of talked a lot about these local ingredients. We got to hear about ingredients from across the country because everyone was at home and they were looking for different kind of foods which they could talk about, eat, consume. So कोविड का एक बहुत अच्छा साइड इफेक्ट ये अच्छा वाला साइड इफेक्ट रहा था ट्राइबल फूड के बारे में भी काफी अब अवेयरनेस हो गई है जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल ये मयूरभंज के एंट की चटनी को एक ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन सर्टिफिकेट मिला तो उसके बाद वो काफी पॉपुलर हुई स्टेट फूड्स के बारे में स्टॉल्स लगते हैं आजकल आजकल रेस्टोरेंट्स बन रहे हैं जो सिर्फ अपने ही स्टेट का खाना देते हैं सो गुड फूड which is local, which is based on local ingredients, has become very, very popular in the recent years. जो ये बायोडाइवर्सिटी बेस्ड फूड है उनका एक अच्छी बात ये है कि वो दे आर दो आगे चले गए ओके सो अभी क्या है कि हमको ये देखना है हमारे पास इतना ऑप्शन है वी हैव टू इंश्योर दैट वी हैव टू we leapfrog into good food. it should not that we first eat bad food and then try to improve our thing. We have the option there. We actually have the knowledge with us. So we have to improve our food systems. We cannot have a food system that first contaminates and then tries to clean up. For example, we cannot use a lot of insecticides, pesticides while we are growing our food, and then after 10 years decide, okay, this was so bad for our health, let's stop and shift over to organic food. Similarly, we do not have to use groundwater exclusively for agriculture. We have to ensure that we use water very prudently. There are technologies like drip irrigation, which can actually help uh, use less water in agriculture. We don't have to destroy the livelihoods of marginal farmers and then worry about food access. For example, as I said, they are growing very nutritive and very indigenous ingredients, which maybe they are not finding markets for. And once we kind of, these things are popular, uh, they will have markets and they would also be able to earn the good, better livelihood. We cannot endanger biodiversity and then say climate change is taken away our food. It goes, we have to protect all this. So as I said right in the beginning, we have to balance everything. It cannot be that we first destroy them, regenerate. So we need to uh, do things which ensure that good food is available to us, and we have to ensure that we can get the taste back in our life, because as I said, it's a very important part of our social lives. I'm sure parents and teachers know it better. uh, Children have to be imparted this knowledge that good food is out there. The taste is not what a fast food taste is. It is also, good taste comes also from indigenous ingredients. So, we were talking about, if we protect biodiversity, just for getting the taste back in our lives. So, if we protect biodiversity, would have more benefits than just providing us food. Recently, the Convention on Biological Diversity adopted the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and which has 23 targets which have to be met by 2030. It talks about different things. For example, it also talks about marine pollution, it also talks about invasive species, but the common thread that goes across all these 23 targets and goals is that biodiversity has to be conserved. And by eating mindfully, we would do our part in conserving biodiversity for the future. Next.
Now
So-
we can get my part.
Okay, so now we are going to talk about a few ingredients which I have mentioned in earlier also, thoda sa. But we'll talk about it slightly more in detail now, and I would invite all our viewers to comment in the comment section about how they use these ingredients, what is their understanding of these ingredients, and how they use it. And do they even find it now? Do they have any story around it? So if please do share your stories in the comment box, and we'll take them all up later on. So this is a bale fruit. We talked about it. It's a very hardy indigenous tree of India. Tree-borne fruits are always much better, are a good source for nutrition because they are always available, and slight variations in climate do not affect or do not kill these trees. So this bale can be used to prepare sharbat, which is can be made at home, but is now also available on the with street vendors. So it's becoming very popular. But also bale candy, which is dehydrated pulp of bale, is also available in the market, but then it has a lot of sugar. So that is a bit of a problem.
I'm sure that is something we can also make at home, probably.
Exactly. So that's what I was like. We can easily make it at
Yeah.
home, and it's a fun activity. If you can, it cools your mind also, because you're thinking about how to make it. You have to mash it. You have to prepare a sharbat out of it. It's very, very calming to the nerves to cook. So the next one, let's see what the next one is.
Before we go to the next one, maybe we could do a quick poll.
Yeah.
So, of all the participants present here, could you please raise your hand to tell us if you have ever heard of bail or have tried it? Please raise your hand. अगर आपने कभी बेल ट्राई किया है या बेल के बारे में आप जानते हैं, तो आप अपना जूम रिएक्शन यूज करके अपना हाथ उठा सकते हैं, ताकि हमें पता चले कि यहाँ पे कितने लोग हैं जो वो जानते हैं इसके बारे में। चैट बॉक्स में एक पार्टिसिपेंट ने बोला है कि मुरब्बा भी बनता है बेल का,
तो जो बेल कैंडी की तरह दिख रहा है आजकल, वो फैंसी नाम है।
Right.
So that's a good thing. People are thinking about how to make it more popular amongst children.
Okay, so 5-6 participants have raised their hands.
Only?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Everyone must have seen it.
Okay, let's move to the next ingredient then.
So this is something I'm sure nobody has seen, because even I did not know about this. This is called a chilbil. So it's again an indigenous tree, which grows in Delhi very commonly. It grows in dry areas, and that papery thing that you see is a seed, and the dark part is what is consumed. It's very nutritious, but it's very, very difficult to actually process. But again, a fun activity. Everything is a fun activity. You can play with it, and like, it's nutritious. We can make a kheer out of this. In this, we have made a kheer out of this. This is called a bandar ki roti in villages. The reason for this is it looks like a bandar, and children love it. Like, they would just, snack on it. But now again, nobody knows about this tree. And in Delhi, the unfortunate part is that it is generally when the tree sheds the seeds, generally it is just swept aside and thrown away. So it's such a waste of food. Like, mindful eating requires that we actually see the food that is growing around us and ensure at least some part of it is saved and some part of it is consumed. This seed can be stored for a very long time also. So just save a handful when the next time you see this, and try making something out of this. And the next one. So this is babool. So it's not part of only toothpaste. And it's a medicinal plant. Yes, it has a very bitter taste. But जो हमारी कम्युनिटीज है वो इतनी इंटेलिजेंट होती थी कि वो इसको प्रोसेस कैसे करना है वो बहुत इजीली जानती थी। तो बबूल का जो फलियां हैं, जो सुंदर सी मोती जैसी फलियां आपको दिख रही हैं, उसको 2-3 बार उबालो, उसका पानी फेंक दो तो उसका कड़वा टेस्ट हट जाता है। फिर उसको खूब सारा आम, अमिया या अमचूर के साथ करके खट्टा करके बनाया जाए तो ये बहुत अच्छा टेस्ट देता है। इसका आफ्टर टेस्ट बहुत ही अच्छा होता है। तो कम्युनिटीज होती हैं जो इसको काफी खाती हैं, पर बहुत सारे एटलीस्ट दिल्ली में तो बहुत सारे पेड़ ऐसे ही सड़कों के किनारे लगे होते हैं। बट अगेन, सारा का सारा जो इसके फली होती है बर्बाद ही जाती है। तो अगेन, 1-2 हैंडफुल अगर आप बचा के रख सकें और एक सीजन जब आए तो 1-2 बार खा लीजिए, अगर वो आपको मिल जाए तो बहुत अच्छा है। इसके बारे में इंटरेस्टिंग बात यह है कि हमें तो नहीं पता कि दिस कैन बी कंज्यूम, बट बंदरों को बहुत अच्छी तरह से पता होता है। अगर आप पार्क वगैरह में जाएंगे तो देखेंगे बंदर पेड़ के ऊपर बैठ के इसको पूरा छीलते हैं, अंदर के बीज खाते हैं और बाकी फेंक देते हैं। तो खाने में काफी अच्छा होता है, उनका फेवरेट स्नैक होता है और बहुत न्यूट्रिशियस और पौष्टिक होता है। तो दिस इज अगेन समथिंग दैट कैन बी कंज्यूम्ड।
A quick poll again, I think. So यहाँ पे कितने participants ने इस ingredient के बारे में सुना है, या आप जानते हैं या आप try करते हैं इसको अपने खाने में include करना, बबूल और gum arabic tree?
I would be very surprised अगर कोई करता होगा।
You could raise your hand to let us know if you know about this ingredient. Yeah, I don't think we have any hands.
थोड़ा रेयर है बहुत। एक तो पेड़ भी इतना ऊंचा होता है because these are old trees, nobody is planting new trees again. So these are very old trees, they are very tall, so access is very difficult. but in Delhi, which has a lot of these trees, so it is quite popular. You can consume it if you can find it. So let's go to the next one. Again, a tree-borne fruit. This is the tamarind seed. अब ये कर्नाटका महाराष्ट्र में बहुत पॉपुलर है। इसमें इस सीड को का आटा बना के इसके बड़े बनाए जाते हैं महाराष्ट्र में एंड दे आर ऑल्सो वेरी टेस्टी। इसको बनाने में अगेन प्रोसेसिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है। इसके बीज को भूना जाता है, उसका बीज के कवरिंग को हटाया जाता है, फिर उसका आटा बनाया जाता है। अब it's very difficult for modern households to actually do all this at home. So a lot of entrepreneurs now prepare the flour and sell it in the market. Again, it has provided livelihood option to people. This tree is very hardy. It grows very easily. These are old trees, indigenous trees of India, and we use the tamarind very often in our food, but the seed we always throw away. So we can try to include at least some part of this we can use to roast it at home and prepare some kind of flour or you boil it and consume. So that also provides a very nutritious snack sometimes. The next one, let's see. We have 13 new messages.
Yeah, we also have some comments from our participants. Chutney of tamarind, yes, of course. Use it in many recipes for sour taste. Tamarind seeds used to make glue. Oh, only used as chutney, right? So tamarind seeds as glue is something new to us as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Meenakshi. So we move to the next ingredient.
As I said, the chutney, the tamarind pulp is very popular. We throw the seeds away every time we get the tamarind at home, but they also can be used, and the less we waste food, the more mindfully we are eating. So that has always to be our purpose. Now this is again a very interesting ingredient. This is the people tree. The young leaves of the people tree can be made into a saag, or it can be used to prepare a raita. Both of them taste very nice. Again, it requires some processing. That means you have to boil it and throw away the water at least once. And it's very nutritious. It's abundant. Like हर बंदे के घर में आप देखेंगे कहीं ना कहीं तो आसपास एक पीपल का पेड़ मिल होगा ही होगा। मार्च अप्रैल के करीब में नए नए कपोले होते हैं, जो नए लीव्स निकल के आते हैं, उनको आप लेके आप और कुछ नहीं, ज्यादा ज्यादा एटलीस्ट एक रायता तो बना ही सकते हो। उबाल के पानी फेंकिए, उसको अपने रायते में डाल दीजिए। इट बिकम प्रोवाइड्स अ वेरी न्यूट्रिशियस फूड. It's rich in antioxidants, it's rich in micronutrients, and it's also very good for heart. So in traditional systems of medicine, the people leaf is prescribed for heart ailments also. So using these leaf as part of the food, you are getting the medicinal benefit also. So this is again a very rare ingredient, used very rarely now. Similarly, we have the pilkun tree, which is also a ficus tree. The leaves of that tree also, the young leaves are consumed to prepare in a form of a saag. So something that grows abundantly around us. I'm sure pilkun and people tree are available very easily. So
and we have certain queries around the recipes that you've shared with us. So all of these are part of your first food book series, right?
Yes.
So we will try and share the link to those books with you so that you can access the recipes if you wish to.
You have to buy them, but that is there. But I would request all of you to buy them, and please do include these things in your diet. These are mahua flowers, and they grow very easily in the central part of the country and in the eastern part of the country, actually even in the western part of the country. And the fruit, the flower, these are the flowers. The flowers are sweet. They can be used to prepare sweet dishes, and they can also be used with millet and to make a roti or a bakar. And it's a multi-purpose tree again. The fruit is also used to prepare a sabji, and the seed is provide the mahua oil, which is which is like the coconut tree oil and solidifies that. It's a semi-solid kind of an oil, and it's very good for in baking, and it's again very nutritious, but again so rare to find that I have been able to find it only once in the local market. But yes, online you do get it more easily now. So I'm sure people are have understood that there is business potential and uh, people do want this to consume this. So let's move on to the next one. This is the millet, which I think it's a very rare millet. It's Sikya. It grows in it's consumed by the people in Bastar area, the country, and it's a very, very small millet. So it's very easy to cook because it's a very small millet, and you can just, add it to your warm milk, just boil the milk for 2 minutes, and you can consume it. It has a very different kind of taste and nutty kind of a taste, and again nutritious, but it's again very rare. And the reason for this is the tribe does not grow it very deliberately. When they have to leave their land fallow, they just throw some seeds on the field, and this grows, and they collect it and consume it. It's difficult to collect also, but it's an easy thing to, if something can grow on fallow land, I think it is an easy crop to grow. And if we can get it back to our plates, that will be a very good thing. Let's move to the next one. This is Bathua, everyone knows about it. This is a popular thing. It's easily available in the market also, at least in the winter season. So Bathua is a weed. It used to grow in wheat fields, and farmers had to kind of throw it away, weed it out of their fields, because it used to reduce the yield of wheat. But then people would take it, the farmers would take it, and then prepare a raita or paratha out of this. It's a very nice saag of it can also be prepared from it. And for young children, you can use the leaves to prepare pasta. It is very nice. So it's a weed. It would have gone waste had we not had the knowledge of how it can be used to prepare food, used as food. Yeah. So it's a very interesting weed. It grows outside the agriculture. It's thrown out of the agricultural field.
So this is the common one then. Could we have a quick poll here as well? If you have ever tried बथुआ, could you raise your hands to let us know? अगर आपने कभी भी बथुए को या तो साग में या पराठे में या रायते में खाया है, तो आप अपना Zoom reaction use करके हमें बताइए. And we expect to see a lot of hands up. Okay, yes, quite a few. Great, that's great. Okay, thank you for your response.
So I'm sure because people already know about it and it is easily available in the market, it can be easily incorporated into your diet. And agricultural scientists have now also made high yielding varieties. The leaves are bigger, and though I don't know like if the nutrition value is the same or the taste is nearly the same, but wild variety tastes really nice. So something to look forward in winters. At least try to eat it twice or thrice in the winter season.
We have some interesting ideas for recipes in the comment box also.
That's a nice.
So the vegetable curry made from bathua ki khichdi, bathua pakore, of course, raita, saag, paratha. So it's interesting to see the number of ways we can use it in.
Yes.
Great. So moving to the next ingredient.
So this is a meetha karela that grows in Uttarakhand. It looks like a karela. It's got spines on it, and generally the fresh one is available only in the start of the winter season. But people cut it and dry it and keep it for later. And when no other vegetable is available, they would just use this dehydrated vegetable, soak it in water, boil it, and then prepare sabjis out of this. So mindful eating again is another example of mindful eating. How you are using what is available, keeping it for future use also, and it's a nutritious thing. So it's pity to waste it. The more you, one of the whole cardinal rules of climate change is you have to reduce consumption. So that's one way of reducing consumption by not wasting it, by not throwing it away. So let's go to the next one. Again, this is guar, very, very common ingredient available in the market more and more now.
Yeah,
Earlier,
I had it from the Instagram.
so earlier it used to be quite rare and people would not eat it, but now again it's become very popular. Mostly, it is it's like it comes from the Rajasthan area and from the dry areas. It grows everywhere, I say, but it grows very easily in the dry areas. It's a shrubby kind of a thing. It does not need much water. It is easy to grow and it's so nutritious. And just the food part is not the what it can do. It provides a guar gum which is used in industry in all your uh, processed foods. The guar gum is used in processed foods. So growing this provides a lot more benefits than just the food part of it. I think there are some comments here.
Yeah, Kavita says that it's very common in Bilaspur, Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
Guar ki fali as it's known.
Yeah. So it was a mistake of saying that it grows only in Rajasthan. I realized my mistake. It grows very easily. Any arid land, any dry, neglected land, it would grow. And it's a very popular thing. It tastes very nice. It's a very different kind of a food. It's the next one. This is the brahmi leaf. A saag has been, as you can see, saag has been prepared here using brahmi leaves and I think that is pumpkin. And the brahmi leaves grows in wet, slightly moist areas, grows around ponds and anywhere where there is water accumulation. It is good for memory. It's sold as a memory booster. So if you can eat it as part of your food, nothing better than that. So it's again very popular, and the best thing is now you can grow it very easily in a flower pot also. So just grow it along with your spinach when you're doing some gardening, and you can consume this regularly at home. And let's move on to the next one. So this is the balloon vine, and it is used as uh, a as a hedge in southern part of the country. It has anti-arthritic properties and it can be used to prepare a dosa and or a rasam. So you just again, and everyone suffers from arthritic pains during rainy seasons. So just having a rasam which is very nice and warm drink in summers, in rains, is a good. You can use this to prepare that. That's a very good idea. अब ये हमारा आखिरी है, मखाना है। मखाना हमने पहले भी बताया किस तरह से आप इसको अपने खाने में इंकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं। इसका बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस हो रहा है, पर अच्छा ये रहेगा कि जो बाजार में मिलता है वो ज्यादातर चीनी के साथ होता है, बहुत चीनी पड़ी होती है उसके ऊपर, वो हनी कोटेड और कैरामल कोटेड टाइप होते हैं। उनकी जगह आप रॉ वाला लीजिए, उसको घर पे ही भून लीजिए, उसको जितना आपको हल्का कुछ फ्लेवरिंग देनी है दे दीजिए, नहीं तो ऐसे भी बहुत अच्छा लगता है। पॉपकॉर्न की जगह खाइए, क्योंकि ये सीड है, ये हाई प्रोटीन है। इसमें हमने उसकी टिक्की बनाई हुई है जो बहुत अच्छी बनती है, आलू के साथ बनाई थी। ये बहुत काफी अच्छी टेस्टी होती है, बड़ा इजी भी होता है इसे बनाना। तो आप इसको मखाने को भी अपने खाने में इजीली डाल सकते हैं। अब ये तुषिता बताएंगी आपको ये जो हमारा कंपटीशन है, एंड इसके साथ हमारा ये लास्ट स्लाइड था। तो तुषिता, ओवर टू यू एंड यू कैन शेयर टॉक अबाउट the competition.
Thank you so much, Vibha. And I think this has been a really interactive session because the comments haven't stopped coming in the chat box. Thank you so much for sharing your indigenous knowledge to all the participants present here and to Vibha, of course. So I can clearly see that you all have a lot to share. And this is why we came up with this idea of a recipe contest. So now I would request my team to put in the link for the recipe contest form. It's a simple Google form that will be in the chat box soon. What you have to do essentially is think of one recipe that you would like to showcase that uses a local traditional indigenous ingredient. So the ingredient has to be the hero of the dish, as Vibha has shared so many examples with you. So take inspiration from that. Think of one local indigenous ingredient that is a hero in a particular dish and share us that recipe. Share that recipe with us in 5 simple steps. If you open the Google form, you will get to know that you have to mention the ingredient. You have to mention the benefits of that dish. It could be medicinal, it could be cultural, it could be environmental. So mention the benefits, mention the rest of the ingredients that we need for that recipe, and then explain your recipe to us in 5 simple steps. Please don't forget that there's a word limit in every step, so you will not be able to write longish sentences. Apologies for that. We really need succinct and concise recipes because Vibha has to assess the recipes personally. She'll go through each and every step that you mentioned, and we will select the top recipes from that list of entries that we receive. So ये हमारा एक सबसे पहला कॉन्टेस्ट है रेसिपी का. जीएसपी ने आई थिंक इससे पहले ऐसा कुछ किया नहीं है और ये सबके लिए ओपन है. आप अगर टीचर हैं, पेरेंट हैं, कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम करते हैं, आप सब इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं. आपको कोई एक ऐसी रेसिपी सोचनी है जिसमें एक ट्रेडिशनल लोकल इंग्रेडिएंट यूज हुआ हो और वो मेन इंग्रेडिएंट हो उस रेसिपी का. आप ये गूगल फॉर्म के लिंक पे क्लिक कीजिए. आप बताइए किस इंग्रेडिएंट को आप यूज कर रहे हैं, उसके फायदे क्या होते हैं. फायदे किसी भी तरह के हो सकते हैं कि पर्यावरण को कैसे फायदा देता है या कुछ हेल्थ के फायदे हो, कुछ भी हो सकता है. उसके बाद आप बताइए कि बाकी और क्या इंग्रेडिएंट्स चाहिए इस रेसिपी के लिए और अपनी रेसिपी को 5 स्टेप्स में आप डिस्क्राइब करके हमें भेजिए. आप ऐसे सोच के लिखिए कि ये रेसिपी हमें नहीं पता है, हम पहली बार पढ़ रहे हैं इसके बारे में. एंड please ensure that there's some novelty and creativity to your recipe so that you have better chances of winning. विभा आप सबकी एंट्रीज को पर्सनली असेस करेंगे और जो टॉप मोस्ट सबसे ज्यादा क्रिएटिव रेसिपीज उसमें से होंगी उनको हम कांटेक्ट करेंगे. So this is the competition. The link has been posted in the chat box. I also have one quick announcement before I start taking your questions. दूसरी अनाउंसमेंट ये है that GSP audit, Green Schools Program Audit, which is an annual exercise for schools, it is now live. GSP audit अभी open है schools के लिए. Last date 14th October है और आप हमारी वेबसाइट पे जाके GSP audit करना स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. अगर आपको आपका यूजर नेम और पासवर्ड नहीं पता है तो आप हमें मेल भी कर सकते हैं. हम अपनी ईमेल आईडी चैट बॉक्स में डाल देंगे. GSP audit, an annual exercise that we do, is now live. It's open for schools. The last date to submit it is 14th of October. So please ensure that you log in and get started with it. It's going to take you a while to provide us the data. So get started today. There's a query in the chat box whether or not you have to fill it out right now. आपको रेसिपी का गूगल फॉर्म अभी नहीं भरना है. The last date to share your recipe with us is September 30th. So you have a lot of time. Please go back, think of what you want to share with us. और आप 30 सितंबर तक हमें ये भेज सकते हैं रेसिपी. Thank you for all the great comments you've been sending in the chat strip. If you have any questions, now is the time. अगर आप कुछ विभा से पूछना चाहते हैं, आप कुछ शेयर करना चाहते हैं ऐसा इंग्रेडिएंट या आप रेसिपी के लिए भी सेव कर सकते हैं, that's your choice. But if you have any questions, any comments, please post it in the chat box or unmute yourself and share it with us. कोई भी सवाल? Can we share more recipes than one? No, Manjari, we only need one perfect recipe from you. Please boil it down to one recipe and share that with us, the recipe that you think is the best.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Tanisha.
So, is there any particular recording or link which will be posted for us to see, like to refer to?
Yes, we are also live streaming this session. So we will post the YouTube link to that streaming in the chat strip or share it with you in an email after this session. So you can access the video later as well.
Okay. Can you, like, when will you be posting it?
We will, can somebody put it in the chat box? I'd request my team to put the live streaming link in the chat box.
Thank you.
We will do it here, Tanisha. You can save the link from the chat strip.
Thank you.
I have a question. Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, Manju.
My question is it's regarding GSP registration. Is it charging any fee from the students?
No, no, no. Green Schools program as an initiative does not charge any money. You do not have to pay for anything. Any of our initiatives, GSP audit, there's no money involved.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions regarding today's session? Any comments? We have 1 minute left. Great to see that kids have also joined us today. Ritvik has stayed till the end of the session. Ritvik, how did you like the session? आपको सेशन कैसा लगा? आप रेसिपीज बहुत ध्यान से सुन रहे थे.
I like this session.
You like the recipes. Which one was your favorite? आपको ऐसा कौन सा ingredient लगा जो आप try करना चाहोगे?
Bale.
Bale, interesting. Have you tried it before? Or
Yes.
Oh, you have. So you like bale. That's great. Great, Ritvik. Pratima Mehta, you have raised your hand. Is there anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I was just looking at the Google that you have sent the link, filling a Google form. Ma'am, I just wanted to ask you, there are certain ingredients, that local ingredients, which are not available in this season, and they are very special recipes of all these ingredients. So we cannot, at this time, at this point of time, or in this season, we cannot post the picture of the recipe. Like we can post the picture of flowers, or we can post the pictures of other ingredients, but as we cannot make recipe in this particular season, so we cannot post the picture of the recipe. So what should be done there?
Okay. So that question is not mandatory actually. It's your choice. You could also not upload a picture. But if you want to upload the picture of the ingredient of the
Yes,
internet,
ma'am.
I think, I mean, I don't think that's really required because we wanted a picture of the dish. So I think it's a choice. If you don't have the ingredient available in the market right now, you could not upload the picture. We
Ma'am,
can
there's
ask.
one more request. There's one more request. Kindly allow us to post more than one recipes. It's not about like contest or something. Like we are going to add to your knowledge also, because there are so many local recipes available in Himachal. It's a very culturally diverse as well as biodiversity rich state. So we have so much to share. This Google form will not do justice to this. So how can I share?
I am ecstatic to hear that, first of all, ma'am. And so I think what we can do is you could decide on your best recipe and put it in the Google form. And the rest of the recipes that you'd like to share with us, you can email those to us.
Yes, right. I would also want to know.
Yeah, yeah. So we will forward your
Where
recipes
can we get your email address?
Our email address is
So,
in
ma'am,
the chat strip. We'll post it
where
again.
can
So मैम कंपटीशन में तो आप
Okay,
एक
ma'am.
रेसिपी
Thank you
दीजिएगा
so
बट
much.
जो
It
भी
was a
आपके
great
पास
session,
आइडियाज
ma'am.
हैं.
We enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you so much.
Manshri, ma'am, I would just like to share. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
All right. So thank you for all the great comments. If there are no more questions, I think we will close the meeting. You can always write to us. Our email ID is in the chat box. And if you have any questions for Vibha, any comments, you can send those to us as well. We will forward your queries to Vibha and get back to you with answers. Thank you so
Ma'am,
much.
sorry
for
to
participation. Yeah.
actually, ma'am, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I would like to interact with Vibha ma'am personally. So
Vibha
can
ma'am's,
we have her
Vibha's email
email ID?
ID. Yeah.
Kindly share her ID, ma'am.
Yeah. Vibha, could you?
It's right there.
Yeah. It was in her presentation, but we'll also put it in the chat box. I request my team to put
But ma'am,
Vibha's email ID in the chat box. So, ma'am, you can make a note of that and you can write to Vibha personally. All right. So,
thank you so much, ma'am. Thank
everybody
you.
for joining in. Thank you for your inputs. Thank you for your sharings. And thank you, Vibha, most of all, for your time and the way you shared about all these recipes with us. Quick fact, all the pictures that you've used, have you taken them yourself? Those are the recipes you have made, right?
Most of the, I have prepared these recipes,
Oh,
but the photographs are part of the book,
oh,
and they have been shot by
wonderful. Wonderful. So all of these recipes are vetted, tried and tested by Vibha.
And
So
yes.
do give them a try. And thank you so much for your participation. We'll see you in the next event. Thank you and
Thank you
bye-bye.
so much, ma'am.